Right, so the next thing that I want to talk about is the actual release cycle of Bright Lights. So everything leading up to Bright Lights and just a little bit after, if you will. So that includes Around the Table, the new social play kits, as well as obviously Bright Lights and the changes brought about in Bright Lights, because I think it is somewhat really underappreciated what exactly has happened in this release cycle, right? It's more than just Bright Lights. It's more than just the single class sets. There are quite a decent chunk of changes that were an attempt, if you will, to really make Flesh and Blood more accessible at the casual level. Now, personally, while these changes are great and are on their way to doing just that, I personally don't think they're enough just yet. So we obviously have the social play kits, which are made to not only support Around the Table, featuring the cards from Around the Table in the case of Melody, but are also there as a casual prize support to try and rope in more people to play in a casual setting, which is fantastic. And then, of course, in Bright Lights in itself, we have the new Crack Shuffle play mechanic, which is, again, another way to make Limited more accessible to the casual person, right? You don't have to worry too much about deck construction anymore or learning that. You just have to crack packs and play with them. So that is fantastic. However, these are all great ideas, and where they fall short is, to some degree, the enforcement, right? Because there is no real way to enforce, well, casual play, is it? Right? What defines someone as a casual? What stops someone participating in a casual event? And why I want to bring this up is because the first social play kit is Melody, right? And usually heroes outside of the females, right, sit around a usual price range. But then we have, obviously, exceptional heroes that are people favorites, right? So Melody, for starters, this is not a cheap promo at the moment. I think it's currently sitting around the $100 to $200 price range, right? And the weird conundrum here is social play kits will be revisited. It states it in a lot of places. I assume that the overall printing would be more apparent than, or at least equivalent to the armor kits. The main big allure, right, is because it's Melody. A character that isn't so much playable, but a character, well, that looks fantastical to a lot of people, right? Is a great card to look at. But in saying that, having such a valuable card as a prize support, right? I guess that's great in one aspect, but what I really want to dig into is the fact that these are at the owner's discretion, if you will, right? Because again, what is a casual event? We have guidelines and we have ideas. But these kits are a reward for participation and attendance at the owner's discretion, right? And unfortunately, there's no blanket way to say that, you know, all owners will be honest, especially when we're looking at again, $100 to $200 card that you get 4 of that you're meant to give out over a 1 to 2 month period, right? So yes, some of them would have used them straight away. Some of them would have been able to do what they're meant to do and act as a wonderful prize for casual events. But in a lot of scenarios, we are going to see that either these will be held back and slowly released because of this, meaning that the price will stay inflated, or that, well, people will not use their discretion in the way that it should be used in terms of these social play kits. And again, there's no real great way to enforce them. So although they are a fantastic idea, depending on the prizes, right, and that balancing, you are going to run into issues when we are just using this term of discretion. Now, from the get-go, you can probably think of a few ways to try and mix it up or change it. You could have them as booster packs, right, so you don't know where the melodies are, right, but they're overall just headaches, right, to what this should be. And overall, where the issue sort of sits at for me is it's up to LSS to provide overall better incentive for the casual dynamic, right? Some sort of, say, boost to your rating, something set aside just for people who are starting. And yes, it becomes difficult to then vet that and truly know if someone is a casual or just trying to game the system. Now, to put it simply, right? So Classic Constructed is being run by the normal business standard, if you will. So as Classic Constructed has grown, so too has the prize support, the prize pools, and the events that are run for it. And that is obviously what you want from a company perspective. You don't want to invest money, you don't have to. You want to grow it naturally and steadily. But the issue that then stems is they're trying to do the same thing with, say, Blitz, say, Commoner, say, any other format that they try to introduce for the different levels of accessibility for the game. And the issue that stems from that is, what is the incentive to pick up those events, those formats, if again, Classic Constructed is already grown, developed, and well, if I put in the time, the effort, the practice, I can play Classic Constructed and I can earn or achieve incentives that are significantly better than these other formats, right? So from one scenario, right, cards are the easiest thing they can do because they are technically free money, right? They print them, they pay the stock standard that they normally have to pay for the cards. And in this case, right, Melody is now making this prize packet, almost $1,000 worth of prize support. But at the same time, they need to personally, from my perspective, right, increase the incentive to these different formats if they want to get them to the same level as Classic Constructed, or even closer to Classic Constructed than what they are. The disparity between the two is only going to remain as time progresses if, again, they use that stock standard business mentality to grow the formats and the incentives behind the format. But that's, again, the overall issue. These are great ideas. There's just not a concrete way to get it done that will make it 100% accurate, if you will. So although I like the ideas and it's fantastic to see increased casual support, right, I can see glaring holes in it when we are, again, using things such as discretion, right, because not every person is honest, unfortunately. And then, of course, we have the main supplemental release, if you will, which is Round the Table, right? So Round the Table, what did it set out to accomplish? Well, it's 4 ready-to-play blitz decks designed for UPF multiplayer gameplay. Now, we've already talked about the 100 cards, so I'm not going to try to beat a dead horse, right? But UPF, in my personal opinion, I would have liked to see this leaned on more heavily, right? Again, if this is what this product is meant to be, then it should be UPF decks, not necessarily blitz decks. But at the same scenario, right? Again, you can take Ira out of this, and Ira is an excellent starting deck, right? So if you were to pick it up and take Ira to your local events, you have a significantly higher chance than any other blitz deck, right? From my personal perspective. The issue that comes to me when I see Round the Table now is, what does this actually accomplish, right? What is it meant to do? Has it done it? And, where can it be built upon? And from a UPF standpoint, cool, you get 4 decks in a box. What's stopping you buying any 4 decks and using that for UPF, right? Again, there's nothing hugely centered in this product for UPF. Yes, I know people are going to scream at me, oh, but Melody and Reverence are these fun heroes for UPF. I think a lot of us would agree that they're more for PvE, right? And have just been tagged along. They aren't specific to UPF or the rules of UPF. Second, speaking of rules, right, there is no inkling to how to play UPF from this product, right? There's a tagline on the back, go here to learn. And if we actually load up the learn page, what we get is this. Where is UPF, right? Round the Table. So I've already had to scroll down. It's nowhere in view. I click on it and we get taken to this page, right? And then we click Learn to Play. Guess what? We go back to Learn to Play. Well, there's the Ira deck. 3 ways to play. Potentially it's in here, right? And this is the issue. This is not instructive enough, given that this is the leg the product stands upon, right? Was it so hard to include a rulebook, instruction, or quick start cards in the product, right? Was there any reason not to make this the entry-level product for casual people? Rather than buying a box, right? Go buy this. You get 4 different heroes with 4 unique playstyles, rather than, say, the Outsider Blitz decks, or I guess the History Pack Blitz decks are probably the other best one to go to. But, right, this product is just missing a few tweaks, and it could have been fantastic, and it could have served an actual purpose other than just being 4 usual blitz decks with a box and a playmat for an extra whatever it is in terms of pricing, right? Because it is more expensive than your normal blitz decks. And again, to criticize the professor, he states these are the most powerful blitz decks we've seen. That's not a hard threshold to cross, right? That still doesn't make them playable. Again, I think Ira is the only real playable one. Professor's probably close, and then Reverence, I think, as well. But you most likely want to take the standard Guardian, or chuck out all the chivalry and run standard Guardian in Reverence. Melody, no chance in hell in playing it in a casual or competitive setting of normal blitz, unless you heavily tweak the deck. And then again, in UPF, for UPF, what does this product actually do for UPF other than give you 4 decks, right? In the Professor, there is 2 cards for UPF interactions. For Brevrant, he's mainly centered for UPF, but again, leans more heavily to what we hope to see with PvE. Melody, of course, has UPF playstyle, but that playstyle is horrible to me, right? Again, sitting at a table, just buffing everyone else, doing nothing, hoping that no one attacks you. There was easy ways to fix that, to actually give you ways to spend copper outside of Final Act, to actually make it more interactive and fun. And then Ira, again, is just a great blitz deck, which makes it stand out in UPF, because if Ira is not winning the UPF matchups, right, like 60% of the time, again, 60% is not high, but the reason I say 60% is because, you know, everyone can gang up on them, right? 2 people to your left and right. Still, it is definitely the leg up deck in the product. And again, thinking about all that, I pose the same questions. What was Round the Table meant to do? Has it done it? Could it have done it better, right? And yes, it could have done it better. What I think it should do is serve as the entry product, right? The easy way to get people up to speed. Yes, it's fun in a vacuum. Oh God, I love that expression. Whoever said it to me, thank you. But yeah, that's all it is. And again, my personal hope from this being supplemental to the set was a product that runs adjacent, right? You have Mechanoids, you have a heavy mech theme set. So you use a product like Around the Table to support everyone else, to give them something they're invested in. And we have that by way of Brevrant, by far the most, Brevrant and Ira. I was about to sell those short. By far the most impactful cards for Blitz, right? Melody is her own little egg to be worked on and hatched. And then the Professor is just a stock standard Blitz deck you would see with bright lights, right? It's not anything inventive. It's not anything for UPF outside of, again, the 2 interactions, which again aren't super substantial from my perspective. And then we have the playmats and of course the packaging. Techlo Industries, that's a great way to sell it, right? I don't know why they didn't go with Round the Table art, right? Again, I think that this was the general design they were going to go with for the new Blitz decks, right? To be a box and be a playmat, and then they've sort of shifted it into this Round the Table because they got the Professor to endorse it, right? But yeah, thinking about it, should it have the normal box art, right, for Bright Lights? Should it have something unique for itself, maybe? And then the playmat, I don't know why they didn't label any of the zones. Again, if this is somewhat close to an entry-level product, just labeling the zones. There was a great one I saw, I think it was Card Kingdom, right, endorsing it, that they had playmats where it says Arsenal does this, Weapon does this, and gives tooltips about the slots, and that would have been significantly better than what we get. And overall, I'm not disappointed in the product. I'm disappointed by what the product could have been, right? So it's not a bad product, but it could have been substantially better and substantially more impactful from my perspective. And then lastly, of course, Bright Lights and the Crack Shuffle Play, right? It's fun. If you've tried it, again, there is pretty much a swing behind whoever you want to pick, depending on the cards you get, and you'll have overlap with other people. And, well, I think most of the time you just want to play Max because he's the most open-ended, right? You need items for Dash to really make it work. And then, of course, you need Evos for Teklo Vossen. And, well, next episode we'll dive into Evos and their design because I do have a few things that I want to nitpick with them, right? Again, being equivalent to me to the Figments from Dusk Till Dawn and the fact that they're baked into Prism, right? They're not really Light Illusions cards. They are Prism cards, right? New Prism cards, I should say, not even old Prism cards. And then Evos very much are slanted towards Teklo Vossen versus anyone else. Yes, you can run them. Yes, you can get benefit from them. But at the same time, they eat away at your slots and they're not as impactful as what I think we hoped they would have been. But yeah, overall, the release cycle is good, right? Don't get me wrong. It does a lot of great things for the game. It, again, focuses on casual sport more so than I feel it gets talked about. Yes, it was talked about at the get-go, but I don't know if anyone else feels this way. I feel a lot of the time when it comes to Flesh and Blood, there seems like there's a lot going on, but it's not loud, right? If that sort of makes sense. We get so many articles, we get so many updates, we get all these different feeds of information from all over the place, but at the same time, none of them feel like they have a lasting impact. Even Bright Lights, right? Building up to it, sure, we had all the spoiler stuff, that was great. Then we had the rush of articles right at the end, for whatever reason to me. I feel like they could have been staggered more throughout the release, right? And then it's just week one gone, on to heavy hitters, right? Heavy hitters also being announced, I think it's about a month earlier than sets would normally get announced, right? I don't know, again, if that's just to allow people time to try and go to Queenscliff in New Zealand, right? Because it's tempted to be a big event. I want to say tempted because I'm guessing until they get X amount of numbers and things signed on, it's just, you know, a normal calling with a dash of anniversary celebration. But yeah, it's interesting to me, right? Because again, it feels like Bright Lights is just so far back, but it's only week 2 or 3, right? Which is just, yeah, crazy to me. Overall, again, in terms of the release cycle, it's fine, right? It's definitely better than previous release cycles, but I feel like there's a lot still to be developed and grown, and they very much split their interests, right? We don't see advancements in all areas of Flesh and Blood. We see it focused on here, focused on there, then back to this and back to that. And I don't know, it feels like the growth of the game wants to be a lot greater than what it can be because of certain limitations we have, right? So I don't know if they're just in the process of focusing everything on the game rather than the company or anything like that. But yeah, it's great to see, obviously, casual support in all aspects of the field. Casual play and roping new people in the game is something we will need to talk about on the channel, right? More so than anything, because it is probably one of the sorest areas for the game, and there are lots of factors that are involved in that. But yeah, overall, very, very happy with this release cycle. Hoping they continue with its trend and try to aim for bigger things, right? Because, I mean, we all want to see Flesh and Blood grow, and it has the potential. It has a great game and concept to it, right? Just needs some tweaks, some pushes, and yeah, it's on its way. But I don't know. I'm just hungry for more advancement than what we got. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See ya.